What is up, everyone? Today we have a Honda here, and it has seen better days. Underneath that tape is a big hole, but that's not the problem. The owner, apparently it's sentimental. They want this machine running. Okay. Basically, I've noticed a couple problems. The wheels are bowed out. They don't want me to fix that. We're not going to worry about it. The problem that they are having, though, is owner's grandson hit something metal. I don't remember what she said exactly, but something metal, and ever since then it's never ran right. I looked at the blade. There's a small chip, and that's about it. Owner said the grandson then took the blade off and bent it back. It looks pretty good. They don't really mind it. I'm not going to worry if that's not my problem. But I don't know exactly running right supposed to, or it doesn't run right exactly means. But when I hear hit something metal, hard, root, rock, it doesn't matter. I'm thinking flywheel key. So it very well could be off just enough for it to run, just not very well. I would try starting it, but one of the key things about broken flywheel keys is they have a tendency of snapping the recoil back and pulling the handle out of your hand, and that can get painful. So I don't want to deal with that nonsense. I'm not going to. What I am going to do, though, is we're going to take a look at that key. It's a real quick process, and we'll see if it's broken, and if it is, we'll replace it, and all should be good. Before I continue, though, and we get into this, I'm welcome to subscribe, put a thumbs up if it helps you at the end. Helps me out a lot. I post multiple times a week, and hopefully if this isn't the machine that you have a problem with, I'll get to the machine that you're having a problem with here soon. Or maybe you already have, who knows, check out my other ones. Anyway, now that mandatory stuff is done, let's go ahead and get started. 3 10 millimeters hold this on. Now, if they were in here before, put these on too tight, these are removable, and sometimes they'll be so tight where you're not unscrewing the nut, you're unscrewing the bolt on the base. That can be quite annoying, because if that's happening, you have to take off the whole cover, which we'll probably have to do anyway, but it's a lot easier to take it off the right way. So underneath that is the flywheel, and we are going to, I'll just take this and tip it over to the side. It's full of fuel. It'll probably just be dripping out. I'm going to unplug the spark plug just because it is technically still running, potentially. 19 millimeter takes the nut off. Actually, it wasn't that hard of a fight on that one. So let's go ahead and take a look. Hondas are great machines, but sometimes it makes it a little difficult to kind of tell. That's where the key is, but I can't really see the slot on the shaft. So we're going to have to take the flywheel off and see if the key is just broken. Win some, you lose some. So I'm going to do something a little potentially controversial. I'm going to remove the flywheel with a little bit of persuasion. I put the nut back on, not all the way, just so it's flush, almost flush. There we go, flush. And that's going to prevent it from mushrooming. I just need to find a good place to pry up on, which is harder than it sounds. This thing is built tough. Oops, I missed there. I have to bend it back. I have to work on it a different way. Things about what I'm about to do. One, if you don't have this, you don't have to do this. You can use a puller. Technically, you probably should be using a puller, but even a puller risks breaking the flywheel. So removing a flywheel is one of those weird things. Likes to break. And second thing, I am going to be using a air hammer. So, headphone users, fair and proper warning. 1, 2, 3. Get out of there. We might be dealing with a stuck key. This is very common when you do have a broken key. So I'm going to work with this, spin it around, keeping on with the air hammer, and I'll bring it back once it's done. After 3 or 4 times of moving it and air hammer and whatnot, we have success. However, the key is intact. So that was pretty much useless. Didn't really need to do a whole lot of that. You do kind of want to look at the flywheel, make sure it's not damaged. It's not. So I do not believe timing is going to be a problem. So that means I think we are going to try to give this a pull and see what doesn't run right means. I was hoping it was this, but sometimes I guess you get unlucky. Something that is kind of worrisome is if it's not the flywheel and the blade was bent, it could have damaged internals, and if that's the cause of this, then this really isn't going to be worth the repair. Maybe to the owner, but to every other person, no. But at least now we have a little bit of comfort in knowing that we probably won't have a kickback. It's not wanting to do much of anything now. Let's try it again. Take it off choke. There's gas in there. Quite a bit of gas. Yeah. I'm going to try pulling it without the choke on. I think I see a problem already. So, did you see puffing through the carb? It generally means nothing good. We're going to take a look at some valves. I have the mower up on a little block on the front end, so when I take off the cover, it's not going... Oh, it's already been kind of worked on. Anyway, take off the valve cover. Because hopefully it's just a valve adjustment that's needed, and not like the cam is busted. Well, technically, if it was a cam that's broken, this is an overhead cam, so it'd be a whole lot easier to repair. So that's good. Completely forgot about that. It's actually first time that it's come in handy. There we go. someone a while ago saw me do this and got real bent out of shape about how I bend the cover. It's thin metal. It's gonna bend. Okay. So the rocker arm, that is a little excessive. Let's take a look at that together, shall we? So, see how that one moves a little bit? Oh, that's like a quarter inch of travel right there. So there's definitely something not right there, that's for sure. Hopefully that's a little bit of a better view. Let's move block out and, well, I don't have to hold down anything. This has a clutch. Oh, it's real tight right here. Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't seem horrible. It definitely feels like it's gonna need a whole lot of adjustment, that is for sure. On this style, you'll see some lines on the actual cam itself for top dead center. We might want to consider looking at those. I think what I'm going to do those, I'm going to take the top off. Pulling this recoil is not the easiest thing in the world. I'm going to just put the socket directly onto the nut again, and we'll spin it over manually. The marks for the cam, a little hard to tell, but the cam lobe, there's only one, and I have it facing so it's not touching either of the rocker arms, so we should be pretty much set to go. That seems fine. That still has a whole lot of nonsense going on it, so let us test the exhaust first. Before I test the clearance, I wanted to double check. I was thinking maybe the valve was stuck in, so it's actually kind of always open, but the valves themselves look level, so with each other. That isn't a problem. That's how they should be. So that wasn't going to be an issue anymore. Then I decided to take a look at the rocker arms. This is the exhaust. Pretty normal. To take it out, there's just this little pin right here, and then that's it. You just push it in and all should be golden. Like so. But this is the normal one. So when looking at the not so normal one, I noticed a couple things. One, this is bent a little bit, but most importantly, I don't know if you can tell, there is a small crack right here. Now, you can weld this. I'm not gonna lie, I've done it before. I don't think it's a good idea because you're going to have to bend it to where exactly it should be, and that can be hard. That can be very hard. So I don't think that is going to be the best of options. We're going to have to get a new rocker arm. Originally I didn't see anything wrong with it, but this is kind of facing down. Basically it's foobarred. I'll go ahead, get one ordered. To order that, just a GCV 160 intake rocker arm. Make sure it's the intake. You don't want to order the wrong one because they are different, obviously. And then once it's here, I'll return. Now, before you go off and just start buying rocker arms, two things I want to bring up. One, when you order a rocker arm, this adjustment screw and nut is not part of it. You have to order that separately or use the one that came on this one. So just look at it, make sure it's not damaged or bent, or the threading is okay because it's a pretty fine pitched thread. Make sure it's okay. If it's okay, it should be fine to reuse it. No problems there. Secondly, make sure these posts that the rod fits into are not broken or bent or cracked or anything like that, because if it is, this block is trash. And when looking at this one, I don't really see anything. There is a small mark, but it looks like it's a casting mark, so I'm not too worried about that at all. So from what I see, this should be good to go for just getting the rocker, and that should cure what ails it. When we get the rocker, we'll double check the clearance on that exhaust, but I don't suspect it's really going to be that big of an issue, and we'll continue moving forward. Should be here another 2 days. Little update. I talked to the owner about the rocker. Today was the day that the rocker was supposed to show up. I got a notification it was delayed. After checking the notification through UPS, then I contacted the owner. The owner wants us back like yesterday. Told them, hey, I called around. There's one that's roughly the same price, but it's about a 45-minute drive away from me, and with gas being about $4.80 a gallon, that's going to be a little bit of a price. The closest one to me is about double the price, which is going to be about a little bit less than if I were to go get the cheap one. I also gave them the opportunity to just wait. It was only $8. It will be here, according to UPS, in about 3 to 4 days, and done. Nope, needs it done. So weighing the options, they decided to have me fix it. So we're gonna weld it. I told them I don't like doing this. I would prefer not to. If it was up to me, I would just wait, or I'm not against the idea of driving up there. They just have to pay for it. They don't want to pay for it. They just want it back. Yeah, well, can't fix poor decisions. You just can do the best you can with them. So we're going to take it out and we'll take a look at it again. Having taken a more thorough look, we definitely have a crack right here. Hopefully you can see that. So we are going to need to weld that up. It goes all the way through, so we don't have to drill a hole. If it didn't go all the way through and a crack just kind of stopped in the middle of like a large section of metal, you're going to want to drill a hole at the end of that crack, because when you weld it, it's just going to get bigger. And potentially even after you're done welding. But it goes all the way through, so we're not too worried about that. When looking at the actual bend, it looks kind of like it's where this adjustment screw is. So might take that adjustment screw out and double check if there is any additional cracking, but from what I'm seeing it's not, so it should be as easy as repairing that crack, pounding that into submission flat. I looked at the other one, it's just flat, so it shouldn't be that bad of a repair. I just, like I said, I don't really like doing that because it's just such a vital part of the machine, but we will see what we can do. More unfortunate news, there's actually quite a bit of cracking. When I removed the nut, I covered a lot. I was mainly looking at the bottom to see if I can find anything, and it looked bent, but nothing cracked. And looking on top, hopefully you can see there's cracking. So the problem is this. When I weld this, it's potentially going to crack again. Then I'm going to have to retap and drill it. Probably, and I don't have that fine of a tap. I did a little look and can't find anything, and if I don't, that's just gonna break one day. I mean, I could put like a quick little tack that's not touching the actual. Actually, no, I can't, because the nut goes directly on there. I would have to actually weld it from the bottom, but there's no cracking there. So this, I'm just going to have to tell them no. Or I'm going to see if I have potentially a bad motor that I could just steal one from. And look what we have. So I didn't have a broken one, but I did have a backup mower that I know I need to do a valve adjustment on. I just didn't do it because it was a valve adjustment and on a backup mower. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to borrow that, and when I get the new one in, I'll go ahead, I'll make a video on a Honda valve adjustment only, and we'll be golden. See, when life gives you lemons. Moving forward, let's go ahead and take this out and go ahead and put the new one in, and we'll see what we have for adjustment. Important items to note: it's installed, but there still is a significant amount of travel. It's about a quarter of what was there. But a couple things: the rocker that came off of, it's the exact same engine. In fact, it came off a mower that's just a little bit newer than this one. Same exact thing. Clutch, everything. It's creepy. But if you look at the one that came off mine, there's like 3 or 4 threads. When you look at this one, it's pretty much on the last thread. And it's pretty much on top dead center. It's a little off. I'm not going to worry too much. But when looking at these two adjustments, I'm going to assume we're pretty much okay, because that thread amount is about what we're off. So I'm going to loosen it. I'm going to do a quick valve adjustment, bring you back, and then we'll continue on. Now, when you do something like this, you see this silicone here. You have to get it cleaned. I'm going to get it cleaned up. I personally use Permatex Black. Works great. In fact, it's really hard to take off if you ever need to take it off again. So it's actually, in my opinion, even better. Or it could just be newer, I don't know. I'm going to clean off the block, or the head, as well as the cover. And we want to get the cover nice and clean, perfectly clean in fact. And then whatever silicone you're going to be using, there is no paper gasket for this. Go ahead and put it on, follow the instructions, and then we'll continue forward after you read your instructions. I have to wait a minimum of an hour before I could even consider starting this engine. So I figured, when I was trying to pull on it, this recoil was a little sticky. And I mean, it makes sense. It's old and it's dirty. So we're going to lube it up real quick. We have what is this? It's worn off. I think it's a T25. However, it's not lefty-loosey. It's lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. So we're going to tighten to remove it. There we go. And we're going to have our favorite lubrification available to us. And we're going to take this off and look at it. Yeah, just dirty. It's to be expected. It's a lawnmower. It's not necessarily used in the cleanest of locations. So I'm going to maybe just take a towel and just kind of clean up the dirt. It doesn't have to be perfect or great or anything. It's going to be dirty as soon as you turn it on again, but we are just here to basically kill time and do a few things that adds a little value. I don't know if you ever had those jobs where you end up having that one coworker that takes their job way too seriously and says inspirational quotes like that. I do. And now that it's nice and lubed up, we'll go ahead and put this right back on. And it always feels weird to me to tighten it like that. Works. We'll go ahead and do this a few times. It's already kind of retracting by itself even more, so that's a good sign. But yeah, we'll go ahead and do that a few times. I have about another long time ahead of me to wait, so I'll bring you back once it's ready. After sitting around doing nothing for a while, I have officially wasted enough time. It's been about an hour and a half, and after constantly having to message the owner of this, I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm just going to start it. Ideally, for this, you'd wait 24 hours. But, like I said, probably not going to happen. We don't know if it runs. I mean, it should. Well, yeah. Let's give it a pull. It's puffing a lot of smoke. I smell fuel. Might just be flooded. Real bad news. I actually tried to pull it over, as you saw. I wasn't getting anything. Tried doing it again. Still wasn't getting anything. I took the new rocker, and it is literally doing the exact same thing. Like, the exact same thing. I now have two completely trashed. So that got me thinking about the valve. And I'm pretty sure it's bent. I'm pretty sure this engine's toasted, to be honest. But pretty sure that at the very, very least, the valve is bent. I'm pretty sure you are getting to that point where this is just not going to be cost effective. Because let me explain something about these engines. Do you see any head bolts? I'll take a few moments. No, you don't. The reason why you don't see any head bolts is this is all kind of one piece. And in order to take the valve out, you have to remove the engine from the deck, which for this particular model isn't just removing the blade and adapter. You have to remove the clutch and the blade, which can be a real big pain. Then once it's off, you have to obviously empty it oil. Then you have to it pretty much cracks. Let's see, let me show you right here. See this line all the way through? At that moment in time, you have to basically crack it in half so the bottom comes off. You have the head on the top end of it. Obviously the tank has to go, all that has to be removed. I leave the flywheel on just for a little stability though. In addition, that was weird. But, so at that point in time, you can then remove the valves. The valve itself isn't all that expensive. The problem is it potentially could have damaged the actual block by bending. I don't really know, but the fact that it bent a valve and it's going into aluminum, I mean, it has guides, don't get me wrong, but we're really teetering on just throwing this away. I mean, it's already having holes. I'm gonna have to call the owner and just explain. They're not gonna like it, I'm sure. I know I wouldn't. It is probably repairable. I'll give them that option. But if it was up to me, this, if I was not filming, maybe an hour. Maybe an hour and a half, depending on how stubborn the clutch is, and just general stuff. But if you notice, not only do we have to do that, remember where I showed you where you have to crack it? There's more silicone. So it's not just an hour. You have to put it back, silicone, let it sit, put more oil. It is a long process. It's a lot of sitting and doing nothing. So it takes a long time. Actual work, it's not that long of a job, but the whole process is long. Having said that, I'm going to leave you at this. So this one, in my opinion, is a bust. I can't really see putting money into it, because let's take a quick tally. I did a little looking, and the cam appears to be fine. So that's good. At the very least, we're going to need another rocker. I don't have another spare. And when looking at I mean, it seems to be fine. So at the very least, we're going to need a new valve and rocker. So the parts themselves, $20. Time, probably, I would usually charge about 2 hours for this. And maybe the person will think that. I'm not going to say how much it is, but it's going to be under 100. I don't charge super high rates because this is a hobby, but let's just say it's really teetering on 100. That I don't think is going to be really worth it for this, but if it is, I'll post another video. If you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Definitely, if you have this happen or if you have any other ideas, I'd be very gracious. But as far as I can tell, this is trash. Unfortunately, this isn't the treasure as we were hoping for. Catch you next time. Have a good night.